So, good day everyone. Our subject is juvenile justice system. So, to continue our subject, to continue our topic. So, good day everyone. Our subject is juvenile justice system. And to continue our topic based on our prelim coverage, so our learning objectives at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain how socialization contributes to the development of juvenile delinquency, cite different social groups that shape the behavior and personality of juveniles, analyze how family, peers, environment, school, mass media, and other social groups can contribute to the delinquency problem. So before we start, our topic for midterm examination, especially for first week and second week, covers the factors affecting juveniles. So we have 5 factors: the family, peers, environment, school, and mass media. So ayan, factors affecting the development of juvenile delinquency. So those factors na nabanggit ko kanina, ito yung mga dahilan kung bakit yung mga bata is nakaka-commit ng crime or prone in committing delinquent acts. So socialization is the process through which children learn the ways of particular society or social group so that they can function within it. So the problem of juvenile delinquency is attributed to factors. Alam naman natin yung mga factors. As I've cited, those factors are family, peers, environment, school, and mass media. That affects the socialization of the children. So socialization, it means it is our knowledge that we acquire during the interaction in a particular group of people. So this is how we interact with other person or with other people. So because we are interacting with them, also we acquire knowledge with them. So let us now proceed with the factors affecting the juvenile delinquency or the development of juvenile delinquency. So first is yung family. Bakit po kaunahan si family? So typically, it is the basic unit in a society. So during our grade school, high school, we encounter the word family. Until now, we are aware what is the definition of family. Family. So it is the basic unit in a society. We all know also that family composed of mother, father, o kaya yung tinatawag nating parents, and the children. So take note that family isn't always about being connected biologically, because you can consider your friends as your family as long as the love and support binds them to strengthen their ties. So it is the first and foremost or most important social unit to affect children. It is the first social world the child encounters. Also, within the family, we learn new things. We will learn the things that the school doesn't teach. Na mas natututunan lang natin dahil nakikita natin, we acquire knowledge within our family, with our mother, father, as well as with our sisters or brothers. Sisters and brothers. So there are types of family. First are nuclear family, which consists of father, mother, and children. While the extended family consists of father, mother, children, grandparents, uncles and aunts, cousins, nephews, and nieces, and also in-laws. Those are the extended family. While the conjugal family consists of husband and wife but do not have child or children. Those are the person or the husband and wife that they are not able to produce child, or ayaw lang din muna nilang ah, mag-anak. That is conjugal family. So, family conditions that influence the development of juvenile delinquency. Ano-ano ba yung mga kondisyon na pwedeng makaapekto sa development ng juvenile delinquency? So, first is the separation of parents or broken home. So, sa separation of parents or broken home, sa broken home, it doesn't mean na wala talaga or hiwalay talaga yung parents mo. Pwedeng broken home, nandun sila pero you're not connected with each other. Meaning, hindi kayo nag-uusap. Nandun lang kayo sa isang bahay pero hindi kayo nag-uusap. Next is both working parents. Of course, if your parents is both working, they have no time for you. And as a return, their child or siblings will be get rebellious dahil wala silang atensyon na nakukuha galing sa parents nila. Parental rejection. So, mostly po ito yung dahilan kung bakit madami sa mga kabataan yung mga nagsusuicide. Since, dahil lagi silang nare-reject. So, if rejection takes place sa isang bata, hindi na niya makakaya yung pressure. Madedepress ang isang bata. Next, single-parent household, lack of parental guidance, and low income of parents. Isa sa mga factors yung low income of parents kasi pagka wala silang pera or low yung income na nakukuha nila, possible na yung anak nila is magnakaw due to financial problem. That's why yung mga juveniles natin, nakaka-commit sila ng mga delinquent acts na pwedeng mas ma-develop dahil dun sa mga situation na nararanasan nila. Next is the family structure. So, what are the family structure? We have family size. Parents of larger families tend to give less parental attention to their children. Children of large families are having greater chance to become delinquent, and this is a predictive factor. So, it was found that delinquency is associated with the numbers of brothers in the family, but not with the number of sisters. Since, likas na ang pagiging strong ng mga lalaki. Isa yung sa structure, sa family size, na kaya doon nakaka-commit ng crime yung mga juveniles, mostly yung mga lalaki. Kasi sa mga lalaki, alam naman natin, likas na yung personality nila na pagiging strong or having a strong personality na mas nakakagawa ng crime ang mga lalaki kesa sa mga babae. Next, child's birth order in the family. Birth order affects the delinquent behavior, with delinquency more likely among middle children than first or last children. So, the first child receives individual attention and affection of parents. Of course naman, pansin naman natin kung sino yung mga panganay, sila pa yung mas nabigyan ng attention ng ating mga magulang. While yung last child only benefits from the parents' experience of raising children. Dahil nga, for example, tatlo kayong magkakapatid. Yung panganay, nabigyan siya ng attention, most attention. The second child, of course, may attention yan, pero hindi na katulad ng attention na naibigay sa first child. And then, yung third child, ito yung mga experiences ng parents kung paano niya napalaki yung dalawang anak niya. So, mostly daw na ang nakakakomit ng crime ay yung mga ah, first or last children. Pero yung middle child, hindi naman siya mostly nakakomit ng crime. Pero, it doesn't mean na based sa study na ang nakakakomit ay first and last, hindi na makakomit yung second. Based po yan sa situation. Gaya nga po ng financial problem. So, if you have financial problem and you're living with the squatters area na wala na talagang means para makakuha ng income or para kumita, ngayon ang gagawin mo is makakakomit ka ng acts na hindi naman applicable sa norms ng society. Next, family model. The corporate model. So we have, I think we have 5 model, or I think 4 models. The corporate model, the military model, team model, boarding school model, and theatrical model. 5 models. So the corporate model, si father, yun yung chief executive officer, sorry sa spelling, officer, chief executive officer. Mother is the operating officer. So si father sa corporate mother will do sa corporate model will do the policy. He is the final word in the corporate family. Si father siya yung pinakabatas sa pamilya, while si mother taga-implement lang ng father's policy. And siya yung nagmamanage sa mga staff niya. And sino yung staff niya? Siyempre, yung mga anak nila. That is the corporate model. I'm sorry for the typo, ha? So, the corporate model, again, the father is the chief executive officer, wherein father do the policy. And those policy will be the final word of your father. And for the mother, he is the implementing officer ng policy na nagawa ni father. And sino po yung magmamanage sa staff? Si mother pa din. Pero yung staff nila na iminamanage ay yung children nila. Those are the staff. So next is the team model. Sa team model, father is considered the head of the family. And the mother is the chief of training table and the cheerleader. While yung children, suffering frequent performance anxiety, play the rules and stay in shape of conformity, calisthenics. So the team model in team family, competition is in the name of the game and winning is everything. So ang panalo ng isa ay panalo ng lahat. Kaya nga po team model na kung ano yung nagagawa ng isa na tama, or for example, si father and mother, may pinapagawa siya sa anak niya, and with the help of their children also, magkakaroon sila ng better result. And that is because of the team. Nagkaroon sila ng teamwork, kaya po tinawag na team model. Next po is the military model. Military model, the father is considered as general, while the mother is the guard duty, and the children are the branch. So in military model, punishment is swift. It is called character building. Hindi pinapahirapan ang mga bata dito, but rather it is a form of punishment as a result of their character building, to develop also their character. It doesn't mean na pinalo ka is sinasaktan ka na. Ito yung way nila para madisiplina ka and para ma-enhance mo or ma-develop mo yung character building. Next is the boarding school model. So the father is the rector or headmaster, while si mother is the dorm counselor, and the children are the dutiful students. So the parents have nothing left to learn but to teach and test. So si father in charge of training school, mind and bodies, while yung mother, uh, she is the one who oversees the emotions and good works of their children. Well, yung children, sila yung gumagawa ng duty as a students. Kaya nga po, boarding school model. So again, in boarding school model, si father is in charge in trainings of school and improving or developing mind and bodies. While si mother po will be the one who oversees the emotion and good works of other children. And si children, they are responsible in doing their duty as a students. Next is theatrical model. The father is the producer, mother is the stage manager, and children will be the stage hands. So no writer is necessary because the lines are scripted. The roles and sex stereotypes, the plot is predictable. So based on the title, theatrical model, it focus on acting, on action, mga theatrikong buhay ng isang pamilya. So in theater, mapapansin nyo naman na scripted yon. Pero here, in theatrical model, ito yung play or stage play na nangyayari in reality. No script available, but rather yung script na nanggagaling sa kanila or sinasabi nila is what naturally comes out from their mouth. Also, yung children, sila yung actors and actresses natin. Well, si mother will be the aid or the helping hand of your father. So again, we have five family models. First is the corporate model, second is the team model, third is the military model, fourth is the boarding school model, and lastly is the theatrical model. So next is parenting styles. So we have three parenting styles. First is authoritative parents, next is indulgent parents, third is indifferent parents. So, authoritative parents, sila yung family na medyo bossy, wherein kailangan nilang i-discipline na maigay yung kanilang mga anak. So, sa family, di ba, hindi naman mawawala yung parenting styles, wherein some parents became authoritative, some became indulgent, and some became indifferent. So, when we say authoritative, parents deal with their child in a rational and issue-oriented manner. So they engage in explaining and discussing the rules and discipline in their house. Sa authoritative, meron silang rules and regulations na kailangang sundin. And dahil nga authoritative, kailangan si parents, sila yung magpapasunod or mag-enforce ng kanilang rules and regulation para sundin ng kanilang mga anak. While yung indulgent parents, they behave in responsive and more passive ways in matters of discipline. So you are giving your child a high degree of freedom to act as he or she wishes. So ito yung mga parents na parang chill-chill lang na kaya nilang makijive sa mga anak nila. Yung ang tingin nila is tropa lang. So, kaya, ang tingin nila, mas nahuhubog yung mga anak nila based dun sa ganong parenting styles. Na kapag medyo nakikisunod ka sa uso, mas na-adapt mo or cope up ka sa ginagawa ng mga anak mo. And dahil doon, tingin mo hindi makakagawa ng delinquent acts ang mga anak mo. Next is the indifferent parents. So, ang indifferent parents naman, they are fairly unresponsive. Bakit sila unresponsive? Kasi sila yung nandun na mismo sa bahay, pero parang wala sila sa bahay. Sila yung walang communication within the house. Nasa loob sila ng bahay, pero wala silang gaano communication. Wala silang alam sa mga activities na ginagawa ng mga anak nila, nasaan na ba yung mga bata, nasaan na yung mga anak nila, ano na yung mga nagiging progress ng anak nila. Next is child abuse. So let's proceed with child abuse. So it is defined as causing or permitting any harmful or offensive contact on a child's body. Child abuse is not just physical violence directed at a child. It is any form of maltreatment by an adult which is violent or threatening for the child. So any communication or transaction of any kind which humiliate, shame, or frightens your child will eventually have an effect or great impact for them. Kasi abuse yan. Na kapag may sinabi kang offensive words or you have your offensive contact on a child's body, dadamdamin nila yan. And dahil doon, pag dinamdam nila ng dinamdam yung pananakit sa kanila, hindi nyo na mamalayan na nade-depress na pala yung mga anak nyo. So, take note, child abuse is any omission which fails to nurture the upbringing of the children. Fails to nurture the upbringing since ang ginagawa lang nila sa mga anak nila is to inflict pain, not to inflict happiness or yung makakapagpasaya sa mga bata or sa anak nila. So, these are the types of child abuse. First is the physical abuse. So, based on the title, physical abuse, it is an act of deliberately inflicting physical injuries on a child. So, this may include burning, hitting, punching, beating, or otherwise harming a child. So, the parent or caretaker may not have intended to hurt the child. The injury is not an accident. So, it may, however, have been the result of over-discipline or physical punishment that is inappropriate to the child's age. So, yung physical abuse, hindi po lahat ng physical abuse is masama. Pero, yung physical abuse that I am referring is yung pananakit or pag-over-discipline sa mga bata na nagre-result in inflicting physical injuries on your child. Pwedeng mamalo, pero hindi sa paraan na mag-i-inflict ka na ng injury sa iyong child. That is abuse. Pag namalo ka as part of discipline, it is not considered as physical abuse. Pero pag namalo ka na nag-inflict ng injuries to your child, that is physical abuse. Next is emotional maltreatment or psychological child abuse. When an adult demeans the child's worth of dignity as a human being by constant scolding and ridiculing. So, this kind of abuse could lead to a child with a very low self-esteem and many hang-ups and psychological problems dahil nga nagkakaroon sila ng emotional problem, emotional maltreatment, palagi na lang silang umiiyak, pwedeng ma-down yung kanilang confidence or magkaroon sila ng lack of confidence and low self-esteem. End up, kung hindi man sila makakommit ng delinquent acts, pwede silang maging rebellious or mag-suicide, prone to suicide. Next is child neglect. It is the failure to provide for the child's basic needs. So, yung neglect can be physical, emotional, or educational. Kasi, neglect medyo malawak na term yan. Failure to provide for the child's basic needs. So, ang basic needs ng child, food, water, clothing, habitat. And physical neglect includes not providing adequate food or clothing, appropriate medical care, supervision, or proper weather protection, that is the clothing, and it may also include abandonment. So in educational neglect, the parents failed to give or to provide appropriate schooling or special educational needs, allowing excessive truancies. Dahil nga kulang sila sa financial, ngayon ang gagawin ng mga students or ng mga bata is uh, palaging a-absent. And yung pag-absent nila is truancy po. Yung truancy, it is the offense committed by minors, and those offense committed by minors is considered as status offense. Next is the psychological neglect. It includes the lack of any emotional support and love, never attending to the child, drug and alcohol abuse. Also, parents are allowing their child to participate in drug and alcohol use. Kung sino pa yung parents, sila pa yung mas naghihikayat na ma-prone or ma-addict yung kanilang mga anak in alcoholic beverages. Next is sexual child abuse. It is any act of maliciously molesting the child sexually, whether the sexual act is consummated or not. So in sexual abuse, it includes fondling a child's genitals, making the child fondle the adult genitals. So nagkakaroon din ng intercourse, incest, rape, sodomy, exhibitionism, and sexual exploitation. So, yung incest, ito po yung nagkaroon sila ng intimate relationship within the family. So, it is not necessarily intimate relationship, but rather, ito yung may nangyari within the family. For example, for the father and daughter. So, kung familiar kayo sa mga balita, marami ang nangyayaring ganyan na kung sino pa yung pamilya, sila pa yung nag-a-abuse sa anak nila. Next typology of child abusers. First is the mentally disordered abuser. So, when we say mentally disordered abuser, a person who has defective mental ability. Mental ability, since they are not, hindi sila insane person ha, meron lang silang problema sa pag-iisip, kaya sila nakakakomit ng kaya sila nakakapanakit sa anak nila, kaya nila na-abuse yung mga anak nila. Again, dun nga pala sa sexual child abuse, pwede po dun yung babysitter, pwede din po yung parent, of course parent, pinaka-major natin na suspect dyan, yung parent. Next is yung babysitter, kung meron pong nag-aalaga sa bata. And a daycare provider, as long as po na related po yun sa child. So, paano po pag stranger ang nakakomit ng acts? So, balikan nga natin tong sexual child abuse. Paano po pag stranger yung nakakomit ng acts? Kailangan, child abuse din naman po na maituturing yun. So if the stranger commit those acts, it would be considered sexual assault. Sexual assault lang po siya dahil po hindi po siya related doon sa family. Stranger po kasi siya. And should be handled by the police and criminal courts. So yung sexual abuse could lead to trauma, fear, and psychological problems on the part of the child. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, most of the child na naka-experience ng mga ganyang abuse ay nagiging introvert, wherein hindi sila ma-express ng feelings nila due to trauma, fear, and anxiety na naidulot sa kanila. Kasi mapapansin nyo naman siguro sa mga rape victims or dun sa mga na-abuse, hindi naman sila ma-open up na tao, hindi sila expressive na tao. And end up, ikikimkim na lang nila sa sarili nila. And dahil nga kinikimkim lang nila sa sarili nila, prone sila sa depression. Di ba nga as quoted, ignorance is bliss, denial is the reaction to a painful truth. So meaning, you are pretending not to know anything or acting as if you don't know anything about the situation just to maintain your own happiness. So yung mga abuser kasi mostly for their own benefit lang yan. Minsan pansamantala lang yan. Na kaya sila nakaka-drug abuse is dahil meron silang kailangan na hindi maibigay ng gusto nilang magbigay nun para sa kanila. So while the abuser is spending his time for being happy, at the same time, self-denial is very painful moment but very agreeable in the end. So it is favorable for those who are being abused, but it is not good that it will be tolerated. So it should be speak out for the awareness of all. Ayan po, ignorance and denial. So now let's proceed again with the typology of child abusers. So as I've cited, mentally disordered abuser, person who has defective mental ability. It doesn't mean na dahil nga mental ability is insane person na sila. Kaya siya nakakagawa ng abuse, it's because he or she is in the process of having mental defectivity, in which he or she doesn't know if his or her doing is right or wrong dahil nga meron siyang mental defectiveness. Next, parentally incompetent abuser. An individual whose practice of disciplining the child is in the same way he was disciplined. So your parents applies what discipline they've experienced without realizing that you are only a minor. Maybe they also experience being abused by their parents kaya nila na-adapt yung ganong process na dahil nga naranasan nila, gusto nilang iparanas din sa magiging anak nila. Next is situational abuser. A parent who only abuses the child when he or she is confronted with a particular situation, one who is usually non-abusive but fly off the handle when some circumstance develops. So yung situational abuser, consider din po siya as opportunistic abuser. So patake note na lang po na ang situational abuser is also called an opportunistic abuser. Those are the one who commits abuse only when in an environment which permits or encourages some acts. So mostly po ito ay child molester. Ginagawa nila ito kapag may nakita silang opportunity para magawa ang isang abuse. So, but take note po ha, most of the situational abuser only commit it only once. Kasi opportunistic abuser lang po yan. Then, kapag ka nakuha mo na siya sa isang pagkakataon, hindi mo na syempre nuulitin kasi matatakot ka na gumawa ulit ng mali. So, the second time around, may mga doubt na sila based on this study. So, based po lang sa study ha, the situational abuser only commits it only once. And the second time around, will be doubtful for them. Based lang po yun sa study. Next is accidental abuser. A parent who exercises poor judgment in his or her parenting decisions. Poor judgment results to child abuse. So another type of poor judgment results to child abuse. So actually, no one intends to abuse. As famous saying says, everyone is the hero of their own story. So naniniwala ba kayo doon that everyone is the hero of their own story? So if you are asking the abuser, if you ask an abuser why they do what they do, so they won't probably say na in order to control or hurt people. Kasi hindi naman natin masasabi na pag tinanong mo si abuser, bakit mo ginagawa yung mga ginagawa mo? Hindi naman nila sasabihin dyan na ang intention nila is to hurt people. Sometimes, it's their way of disciplining their children to grow up as strong and successful person. Otherwise, they made them feel their parents angry in a way they can, so that their parents want them to feel the way how they feel in a given situation, as part also of realizing that they need to be respected by their children. Minsan kasi it's only their way para ma-discipline yung child nila. Accidental abuser, meaning not intentionally abuse, o hindi mo intention na ma-abuse yung child mo, pero dahil nga sa sobrang pag-discipline mo para paglaki nila, maging successful sila in this undisciplined person, end up, masasaktan mo sila in a way na hindi naman dapat. And that is considered as abuse. Next is subcultural abuser. A group of people who share a number of values, norms, and attitudes in common. So, subculture, meaning gumagawa sila ng sarili nilang rules. Of course, kung may rules, meron ding regulations that way they will be implemented by the group of people which is not acceptable in the norms of the society. So, subculture, kung if you still remember, meron tayo sa theories of crime causation, sa cultural deviance theory, nakakapag-produce sila ng subculture, wherein yung subculture, gumagawa sila ng sarili nilang rules and regulation na ini-implement nila within the given group para sila yung sundin. Pero yung rules and regulations na yun, hindi po siya acceptable in the norms of the society. Okay, next will be the self-identified abuser. So, parents who are abusive, although some of these kinds of abusers want to stop abusing their children, they cannot and they are afraid to make their discipline practices known. So, ito yung mga discipline na nakakalow moral sa mga bata, like yung whipping of stick, and yung kapag sasabunutan mo yung anak mo. Or in short, you are direct injuring of your child's body without suicidal intentions. Next is institutionally prescribed abusers. Some institutions are grounded with beliefs that are abusive to children. So, as I said, beliefs is one of the major problems since we have different perspective, we have different beliefs, and because of different beliefs, we may misunderstood each other. And one of the reason that it will become the root of having an of having a chaos or yung hindi pagkakaintindihan. And of course, as part of revenge for some other persons. Second factor natin is fear. So we've already done with family. Let's proceed with peers. So what do you mean by peers? It is a group of youths of similar age levels, interests that open can empower young people in their sense of feeling worthwhile and important. Sometimes kasi we feel that we are accepted because of our friends. That's why most of us, mas nag-open up sila sa friends nila than their family. Mas na-express kasi nila yung nararamdaman nila or yung feelings nila because they feel that they are worth it, and they have freedom to speak of kasi hindi sila nagkakaroon ng doubt na magkwento kasi walang criticisms na mangyayari. Next is the structure of peer relations. So we have 5 structure of peer relation. Una na dyan, ang according to the control theory approach at articulated by Hirschi, delinquents are as detached from their peers as they are from other elements of society. So if you still remember yung ating social bond theory by Travis Hirschi, yung biak, yung 4 elements in order for us to have social bond or uh, mas ma-strong natin yung ties natin, it's because we have belief, involvement, attachment, and commitment. So, madami kasi sa atin ang may lack of self-confidence. But through peers, napupulfill natin or napupulfill nila ang mga gaps na nararamdaman nila. So, if the delinquency happen in groups, it's because, as famous saying, birds of feather flock together. Kumbaga, fault of one is fault of all. Second is, delinquent friends cause law-abiding youths to get in trouble. Kids who fall in with a bad crowd are at risk for delinquency. Kasi may mga nakakasama tayo na kaibigan which is prone to commit crime. So, since we make friends with them, ma-adapt natin yung mga behavior nila. Reason why we also became delinquent. Next is the antisocial youths seek out and join up with like-minded friends. Deviant peers sustain and amplify delinquent careers. So those who choose aggressive or violent friends are more likely to begin engaging in antisocial behavior and suffer of course psychological deficits kasi sila yung mas nagiging emotional at mas naapektuhan yung emotion nila due to the fact that they are being engaged in antisocial activities. Next is, as youth move through their life course, antisocial friends help them maintain delinquent careers and obstruct the aging out process. In contrast, non-delinquent friends moderate delinquency. So if adulthood brings close and sustaining ties to conventional friends, marriage and family, the level of deviant behavior will decline. So kung mas marami sa atin as we grow up, mas nasusustain natin yung ties with each other, yung sa ties na meron tayong good relationship with other person, maybe yung pagkakaroon ng deviant behavior habang bata pa lang is madedecline na. So, ito yung tatandaan nyo, especially dun sa peer natin. In your age, wherein friendship is very common, take note na kailangan ng makakasama nyo is yung kakilala nyo talaga or madadala kayo in a good condition. So, deviant peers do not cause stray kids to go bad, but they amplify the likelihood of a troubled kid getting further involved in antisocial behavior. So, let's answer this question. If peer rejection promotes delinquency, can peer acceptance reverse its tide? So, peer rejection may help increase and sustain antisocial behaviors because it outcasts kids become suspicious of other people's motive and become more likely to respond in antisocial manner. So we have two aspects here, the peer rejection and the peer acceptance, wherein sa peer rejection, for example, as you see in the picture provided in the slideshow, hindi nila ina-accept or nire-reject nila yung isang bata. Maybe, yung batang yon is prone to do illegal activities. Example lang po ha. Then, if yung batang yon is dahil alam niya na walang sumasama lagi sa kanya, walang tumatanggap sa kanya na peer, babaguhin niya ngayon yung sarili niya, and after niya mabago yung sarili niya, hindi na siya gumagawa ng mga antisocial acts. Therefore, pagka lumapit siya sa isang peer o bumalik siya dun sa kaibigan niya na gusto niyang makasama, magkakaroon na tayo ng acceptance. That is peer acceptance. As long as nabago mo yung mga nai-reject nila sa'yo or kung bakit kanila nai-reject. Okay? Next, gangs. So, are groups of youth who collectively engage in delinquent behavior. So, I hope you are familiar with gangs. Gangs always take note group of youth. Not only youth, it is not only applicable for youth, but gangs also applicable for adults. Since we are referring for juvenile delinquency, we are now referring for the gang youths. Next is group delinquency and gang delinquency. So what is the difference between group delinquency and gang delinquency? So group delinquency is a short-lived alliance, while gang delinquency is a long-lived alliance. So group delinquency, it is created to commit a particular crime or engage in a random violent act. Or ito yung mga paggawa ng crime in a limited time only, since short-lived alliance nga lang po siya. While yung gang delinquency, of course, the opposite of group delinquency, the long-lived alliance. Long-lived siya since it has a distinct structure and organization which includes identifiable leadership and division of labor. Ito yung mga organized crime. So if you are familiar with Yakuza and yung Mafia, considered po siya as gang delinquency since meron silang leadership as well as the division of labor. Meron silang commitment dun sa kanilang grupo. Next is gang names. When the early gangs were formed, they took their names from the neighborhoods where they started and carried on their activities. Some used more colorful, non-locality based names of their own choosing. So, yung gang names, example lang po is yung mga dati pong gangs, yung Southside Raiders, as long as po na yung gang names is na-carried on where their activity has been carried on. Doon lang po nila ipinapangalan yung mga gangs nila. And some other gangs use colorful names or based on their own choosing, like nga po yung Cobras, Warriors, as long as meron itong deeper meaning sa kanila. Next will be the types of gangs or categorization of gangs. So we have 4 categorization of gangs. First is social gang. It involved in few delinquent activities and little drug use other than alcohol and marijuana. So membership is more interested in the social aspects of group behavior. Mas marami silang napoproduce na delinquent activity if they have been socialized with other persons. Next, party gang concentrates on drug use and sales, foregoing most delinquent behavior except vandalism. So, drug sales are designed to finance members' personal drug use. So, yung party gang, if you are familiar with ecstasy, considered siya as party drugs. And dahil doon, gumagamit sila ng mga party drugs or other drugs, not only party drugs, but other drugs that gain profit within the specific organization. Ito kasi yung magiging kita nila or income nila para mabuhay sila or para magkaroon sila ng kita. Next is serious delinquent gang. It engages in serious delinquent behavior while eschewing most drug use. So, drugs are used only on social occasions. So, it is occasionally used since it is serious delinquent. Wherein, kailangan mo siyang pag-isipan kung paano mo gagawin yung isang ah o yung paggamit ng drugs. Occasionally, since ito ay mako-consider natin as heinous, kaya po serious delinquent gang, sila yung mga batikan na sa paggawa ng crime as well as paggamit ng mga drugs. Organized gang, heavily involved in criminality and drug use and sales. So, drug use and sales reflect a systematic relationship with other criminals. Since organized gang, it is systematically arranged. And of course, chronologically arranged with leadership and division of labor. Ito po yung mga malalaking gangs na mostly internationally nakakakaroon sila ng communication. But then, gumagamit sila ng mga names or codes na pwedeng magamit nila as hidden word or as part of their secrecy. Next, gang formation. It involves a sense of territoriality. So, meaning, most of the members of gangs live within the proximity of each other for easy access on what they will be doing. Mas mahirap kasi kapag magkakalayo sila. So, the communication should be kept confidential. Kasi pag magkakalayo, pwedeng ma-access ng iba yung linya nila. Kasi maraming grupo ang kayang mag-hack. And dahil doon, iniingatan nila na makuha kung ano yung mga or makakuha na information sa kanila. Next, gang leadership. Most experts describe gang leaders as school characters who have earned their position by demonstrating a variety of abilities, fighting, verbal quickness, athletic distinction, and so on. So, a leader should know how to effectively run the organization. Dapat mas madami siyang alam or capability to lead an organization. Kasi, kung sa leader mismo, wala siyang alam or or hindi siya capable to lead, hindi mag-work ang isang organization. Next, gang communication. Gangs today seek recognition both from the rivals and the community as a whole. One major source of gang communication is graffiti or writing on walls. So, I have here an example of gang communication. Among Latino gangs, the term rifa used to assert power. PV, por vida means the gangs want to control the area for life, and the numerical 13 signifies that gang is loco or wild. So, meaning ito pong mga words na to or words of secrecy nila, ginagamit nila to as part of their communication. Na kapag naka-join ka sa gang, meron silang sarili ng lengguwahe. May sarili silang way on how to communicate para hindi sila madaling maintindihan ng ibang tao. So, let's proceed with another factor. So, we have already done with family. Second is fear. Third is environment. So, it is where the child is exposed to after his first highly formative years. It may be a place where crime is an unusual occurrence. So, for an environment to become a factor in delinquency, children can be found in the street roaming most of the time in the company of adults whose words and behaviors are not fit to be heard and seen by the growing child kasi ma-adapt nila yung ganong culture. Dapat yung mga bata hindi nila ginagaya or hindi dapat as vice versa, yung matatanda, hindi dapat sila nagpapakita ng mga maling gawain or maling actions dahil possible na ma-adapt to ng mga bata. And pag na-adapt nila, for example, sa family, yung nanay at tatay mo always using drugs. And therefore, dahil yun yung kinalakihan niya na surroundings, na environment, paglaki ng bata or habang bata pa lang siya, pwedeng gumamit na rin siya ng drugs. Next factor is school. So, it is considered as the second home of a child. with teachers as the second parents is institution responsible for the training of young persons' intellectual, moral, as well as social skills, which they need for them to grow up as productive, law-abiding, responsible citizens. So we have three factors under school, yung failure of the school in character development of the children and youth. So, if sa school pa lang hindi na na-develop yung character natin, hindi na tayo ah, nag-improve, possible na yung child is maging delinquent. As well as yung lacking of activities or yung mga curricular and extracurricular activities na dapat ginagawa ng mga bata. So, kung yung school walang curricular activities, wala extracurricular activities, pwedeng mabaling yung attention nila sa iba. Or yung attention nila pwedeng maging ah, palakaibigan sila without knowing yung kaibigan nila is may mga ginagawang mali. And dahil doon, ma-adapt nila yung ganong cycle and araw-araw na nilang gagawin yun. Dahil nga, wala silang makukuhang, wala silang mapagbabalingan ng attention nila within the school. Another is yung continuous absences or yung truancy. So, truancy is one of the offenses committed by minors. Again, yung offenses committed by minors is called status offense. Dahil dito, nagkakaroon sila ng poor academic performance which tends them to stop from studying. And dahil nga, lagi silang absent, maybe meron silang problema sa pamilya or maybe sa school mismo, nagkakaroon ng problema. Nagkakaroon sila ngayon ng poor academic performance. And dahil laging bumababa yung performance nila sa school, may isip na lang ng bata na tumigil. And sa pagtigil niya, maaaring maging rebelyo siya or wala na siyang magawa sa buhay. It's either doon lang siya sa bahay or makikibarkada siya sa iba na hindi niya alam kung ano yung buhay na nakagisnan ng mga barkadang sasamahan niya. Lastly is mass media. So again, we have 5 factors: the family, peers, school, environment, and school. And lastly is mass media. Mass media embraces all kinds of communications where a child is exposed to. It covers up everything that a child hears and sees that lives behind in his or her imagination. So, in mass media, there is what we call the imitation theory, wherein kung ano ang napapanood nila sa television, not only for the television, even cellphone, laptops, or other means, is ina-apply nila in reality without knowing that they are wrong. Kasi minsan, napapanood ng mga bata yung kung ano yung napapanood ng matatanda. And, kaya nga po may rated PG, rated SPG, yan po yung magiging limitations ng mga bata. Pero ngayon, for this generation, mostly yung mga bata, mas engaged sila in watching in YouTube or in watching in Facebook, in television, na nai-apply nila in reality. And hindi nila alam na yung napapanood nila is mali na. So, we are done with the 5 factors that contributes to the development of juvenile delinquency problem. So, there are other contributory factors to juvenile delinquency problem. We have government, so the political interference of the higher positions, unfair decision of the courts, police carelessness and unfair treatment, and even the police policy itself. So, in government, isa siya sa contributory factor since meron silang pinapanigan. So, kapag mayaman ka, some politicians, I'm not saying that all politicians, but some politicians, some authorized person, ay mas pinapaboran nila kung sino yung may pera. Unlike those sa mga walang pera, na yung mga bata is na-untreat or nagkakaroon ng unfair treatment dahil wala silang kakayanan. Wala silang kakayanan sa society. Kaya kahit anong treatment, kahit anong abuse na mangyari sa bata, walang nangyayari sa decision sa court. For example, yung bata and yung mayaman na pamilya. Nagkakaroon ng unfair decision since walang kakayanan yung mahirap na family or yung nasa average level na family. Ngayon, yung isa yung mananalo sa korte. Bakit? Kasi po, sila yung may kaya. Unlike those dun sa mga bata na wala namang kakayanan to defend themselves as well as to get the lawyers. Ito kasing isa, yun kasi yung problem sa ating society wherein nagiging unequal siya, nagkakaroon ng unequal treatment kasi hindi pantay-pantay ang tingin sa lahat. May mayaman, may mahirap. And kapag nandun ka sa part na nasa average level ka, hindi ka gaano naiintindi. While kung nandun ka sa side na mayaman, kapag may nangyari sa'yo, babayaran mo lang. Or, madali lang silang magkakaroon ng negotiations. Next, religion. It serves as a guide in his or her moral preferences as he grows up. So, in religion, kanina nabanggit natin that beliefs is part of the problems or major factors that affects the development of juvenile delinquency. So, in religion, since they have different perspective, they misunderstood each other. Of course, somehow it's part of their revenge with other religion. Exclusion. The growing gap between rich and poor has led to the emergence of unwanted others. So, in-exclude nila ang mga bata dahil wala silang kakayanan. And of course, wala silang means para ipaglaban yung sarili nila. Kasi sa society natin, na-exclude yung mga bata. Kasi hindi naman sila, for some, yung mga bata is hindi sila nagkakaroon ng mas malaking contribution sa society. That's why they are being excluded. And there has a growing gap between rich and poor. Kahit hindi naman sa juvenile delinquency, kahit hindi about sa mga bata, nakakaroon talaga ng gap between rich and poor. Reason why nagkakaroon ng reason why na yung mga rich and poor ay malayo yung tingin nila sa isa't isa or malayo yung loob nila sa isa't isa kasi hindi nila nafe-feel or yung mga nasa average level hindi nila nafe-feel kung ano yung nafe-feel ng rich people. Well, yung rich people hindi nila nafe-feel yung nasa mahirap na sector or nasa average level. So sa exclusion, dahil nga nafe-feel nila na they are unwanted for others, especially sa society, lalo kapag tingin nila, etong batang to walang mararating. Etong batang to, hindi makakatapos. Without knowing na yung mga batang yun, sila pa yung mas nagpupursige. Unlike those in the rich people. Na kung sino pa yung mayaman, sila pa yung mas nagiging rebellious. Kasi nga po, na-exclude yung mga bata dito sa society natin. So, again, we have 5 major factors and the 3 contributory factors are government, religion, and exclusion. So, that will be all. Thank you and God bless.